Go out and chew sticks. All right. Anyway, there we go. Hey, YouTube. I kind of forgot to turn you on at YouTube. I was like starting with TikTok and Discord. I'm like, I'm forgetting something. Yeah, that would be YouTube you're forgetting. Hello, Ireland. Thank you for taking care of our wonderful friend, Rosie O'Donnell. Yes, the blue shirt is easier to read the comments, but I can't always wear blue and black. I guess this is blue today. I meant it to be black. I guess it is blue today. Yeah, it is blue. Northern Ireland. Hello. So welcome, guys. John Aravosis here. As you guys know, we cover the news from America and the world. Oh, shit. And I even forgot. Son of a bitch. Totally forgot. Hang on. Let me add this on here. God, there's so much crazy news today. I'm going to add it on the end here. There we go. There's a story I wanted to tell you that I totally forgot about. So yeah, welcome, guys. John Aravosis. We're going to talk about the latest news from America and the world, and then open it up for questions and comments and all that kind of stuff. But what else was I going to say? I do this for a living, so I always appreciate your support. So that's nice of you. And we do have wish list gifts up there that TikTok set up recently, this wish list thingy, where basically you get certain gifts and I do certain things. The screaming goat, put on the Trump wig, sing happy birthday, ask me anything-ish, or a UN story, but that costs a lot. Because the United Nations is the worst place on the planet to work, and I don't like to talk about it, having worked there. But I do sometimes, and certainly for a big gift, I will, for the wish list. Anyway, hey, Steve in the UK. So lots of news today. Actually, lots of news today. I think we're going to go, not long, but it's pretty good, pretty long. So Jimmy Kimmel is back. His show starts tonight. The activist Republican MAGA TV network company named Sinclair. Kind of hard to explain what they are, but basically in the US at least, a lot of the local affiliates, so like a lot of the ABC affiliates in the US are owned by one company, Sinclair. But they're also owned by another company, Nexstar. Like companies own, it's almost like the way they're buying up all the veterinarians and doctors' offices. Companies own a bunch of the affiliates, but not all of them. And companies like Sinclair, a famous one, are Republican activists. They're basically far-right Republican activists, and they're MAGA activists now. And Sinclair is part of the reason that, oh, thank you for the mask, Dave, the masquerade. Sinclair is part of the reason, along with Nexstar, that Jimmy Kimmel got canceled originally last week. The comedian, after the Trump administration threatened to yank the broadcast licenses of Disney, ABC, and the local affiliates unless they got rid of Kimmel. Basically, he gave him a direct threat and said, easy way, the hard way. The easy way is you punish him. The hard way is we take away your license. Well, now Trump's people are trying to deny that. I'm always kind of amazed. Like, I guess the lawsuit thing scared him. I'm surprised, but they're trying to deny that now. I mean, it's on tape. The guy literally did a video interview with a far right blogger. So, you know, in any case, so they're refusing now. Disney decided Kimmel was going back on TV again tonight. And the Disney is not Disney. Thank you. Who's that? Empol? Thank you, Empol, for the feather mask. Those are funny. Disney and ABC have decided they're putting him up again tonight. The show is going live. And the activist Republican TV network, so to speak, Sinclair, is refusing to show the show. And they're ordering all their networks, all their affiliates not to show the show. And Nexstar, the other company, is refusing as well. They own a bunch of ABC affiliates too. They're refusing because they're afraid, we think, that Trump is going to punish them. Because basically, they're looking at doing a merger soon, and the merger has to go through Trump's FCC, Federal Communications Commission. And they're afraid the FCC chairman, who's the MAGA activist who originally threatened to take away their license, will not let them do the merger. So both of these stations are refusing to air. My station here in Washington, D.C. is one of the stations. They're not going to show it. It's a Sinclair station. Some of the other big cities are Portland and Seattle out in Washington and Oregon. They're not going to show it in your cities as well tonight because of the Republican activists and because of the fear of Trump's own MAGA activists not approving the merger. So kind of still scary stuff going on in Chicago and other cities. I'm not going to go through the other cities. There are no other big cities that were on the list. It's a big list, but those were the biggest cities that were on the list. Anyway, so kind of crazy stuff. Oh God, that's funny. What else we got? Trump canceled a meeting. So we're looking at a government shutdown in about a week. Our new fiscal year starts October 1st. That's the fiscal year, meaning it's kind of crazy they do it this way. It's the government accounting year. So all the spending bills like run out more or less October or September, was it 30th? 30th of September? September 30th, and then October 1st is the new year. If they don't pass the final budget bills, appropriations, all this kind of stuff, the government runs out of money. Well, typically what they would do is, and they're not ready to pass all the bills. Typically, they would pass some kind of continuing resolution that continues to fund the government for, say, 15 days or 30 days or 60 days, but it funds the government for another period of time that they can negotiate. Well, the question then becomes, what does that legislation say? What does the continuing resolution include? And now the Republicans wanted to just fund the government, current level, whatever. Democrats said, no, if you want our votes, you're going to have to put some funding back for Obamacare, the Affordable Care Act. Trump and the Republicans are letting the Obamacare subsidies, a portion of the subsidies expire. Well, thank you, Kerry, which will make insurance premiums more expensive for a lot of people like me. I calculated it could cost me $2,000 to $4,000 more for insurance next year, and I'm already paying $1,500 a month. Next year, I'm going to probably pay $1,600, $1,650, probably easily. Next year, maybe $1,700 a month. It's crazy. And I get some subsidies. It's probably going to cost me $2,000 to $4,000 more because Trump let these subsidies, when they gave the tax cuts for the rich, at the same time, they let the subsidies expire. So Democrats are saying, you know what? Continue the subsidies, you'll get our vote. Now, why does Trump even need Democratic votes, right? Republicans control the government. Republicans control the House. Republicans control the Senate. Republicans control the White House. Republicans control the Supreme Court. Why does he need Democrats? Well, because Republicans aren't voting for the bill. If the Republicans were all on board, they could pass this legislation themselves. They can't. They've got some Republicans who are refusing to vote for Trump's own bill to keep the government open. So the Republicans turned to the Democrats and said, please vote for our bill, right? But we're not going to give you anything. And Democrats went, well, that's crazy. Why should we thank you. Who is that, Carrie? Is that Carrie? That is Carrie. Thank you, Carrie. That is such a weird, I always feel like it's kind of, like a foxy Satan thing or something. But Democrats are saying, look, if you want our votes, because you can't even get your own group together, right? You control the House, you control the Senate. You can pass this legislation if you can just get your own people to vote. Your people are refusing to vote for it, so you want us to vote for it instead? Give us the Obamacare subsidy. So Trump had a meeting scheduled with the two Democratic leaders of the House and the Senate, Schumer and Jeffries, and he canceled the meeting today. He said, I don't want to negotiate with you if you're going to ask for anything. They were like, well, that's like literally a negotiation. He canceled the meeting and basically said he's going to let the government shut down in a week because he won't even negotiate with Democrats. Even worse, Trump said a couple things. He said, I won the election. I don't need to negotiate with Democrats. Well, if this were a dictatorship, or I don't know, if he were King George III, yeah, that would be a good argument, except this is America, it's a democracy, and whenever you pass legislation, there's always a negotiation. So no, you don't get to say you won the election. Well, guess who else won the election? Senator Schumer and Senator Jeffries and Congressman Jeffries, okay? Democrats are almost 50% of the Congress. They were given, here's what the election also did. The election last time put Donald Trump in the White House, and it put enough Democrats in Congress, so Republicans had to look for Democratic votes to pass legislation. So Democrats have the same argument. The voters put us here to keep you in check. So that's what's up. We don't know what's going to happen. Trump did make a crazy, huge social media post on his little Truth Social, his social media company. He's claiming it's really effed up. It's really effed up. Trump went on a screed claiming, now mind you, the reason what the Democrats are asking for is a continuation of the ACA Obamacare subsidies. In other words, to help people like me pay for my insurance. Trump claims, oh, that's not it. Democrats want transgender surgery for everyone. He literally said that. And he said it multiple times. He kept claiming, oh no, it's all transgender stuff the Democrats are asking for in the continuing bill. It's not. There's no transgender stuff in there, but it also is very sad that Trump unfortunately, Trump and his people have decided that trans bashing is really their way they're going to win stuff now. He did it during the election, and he's doubled down since. Very sad. I don't know what else to tell you. It literally is like 3 or 4 different times he brought us trans people and attacked them and claimed this was going to be all sorts of it's for trans people. They're keeping the legislation. And it's literally not true. The House Democratic leader, this was kind of funny. House Democratic leader Jeffries responded to Trump. Mind you, they had a negotiation plan. They had a meeting planned at the White House. They were going to meet with Trump, and Trump canceled. So Jeffries, the Democrat in the House, tweeted, "Trump always chickens out." That was pretty funny. That's the taco thing that the Wall Street people named Trump with, branded him with, that he basically is always flip-flopping and chickening out. And it is true. He did chicken out. NATO. So Trump, some weird stuff happened today with Trump and Putin too. So I will put forth the caveat first that Trump does always chicken out. It's Taco Tuesday. It is Taco Tuesday. That Trump does always chicken out. Trump always flip-flops, especially when it comes to Russia. He always flip-flops. But for whatever reason today, Trump is suddenly today very pissed at Vladimir Putin. Now, he met with President Zelensky today at the United Nations. That was good. I don't think that was sufficient, unless Zelensky gave him some intelligence of something really bad Russia did or said about Trump, which is possible. Trump is like irate today at the Russians. That's good news. It doesn't mean he won't change his mind. He probably will. Thank you for the gifts, guys. Keep them coming on TikTok and elsewhere. But I would still rather have a flip-flopping Donald Trump be anti-Russian and pro-Putin and pro-America than a flip-flopping Donald Trump be pro-Putin and pro-Russia, right? I mean, this is still better than the opposite, right? Well, Trump today said 2 different things. First of all, he was asked regarding last week, the Russians flew into Estonian airspace and they were there 12 minutes with their fighter jets, totally illegal, totally inappropriate, totally irresponsible because it could start a war. And the Russians like to do it for a couple of reasons. One, it's just to be jerks. I would use a stronger word, but we're a family show sometimes. They're trying to be jerks. They're trying to be obnoxious. It's like an adolescent. I'm just going to fly into your airspace and I'm going to make you angry. That's literally it. That's part of what Putin does. Secondly, it's testing us. In case of war, it would be useful for the Russians to know if they invade Estonian airspace, NATO airspace, how long does it take NATO's jets to catch up with the planes to intercept them, right? Does it take 2 minutes, 3 minutes, 4 minutes, 1 minute? That tells you how much time you've got to invade before they stop you. That's useful information. So that's part of the reason Putin's doing it. Well, Trump was asked today, should NATO countries shoot down Russian aircraft that enter their territory in the future? And Trump said, yeah, they should. And he said it like very, very quickly and very strongly. He said, do you think they should? He said, yes, they should. Do you agree? He said, yeah, I do. Very interesting. He said, will you come to NATO's aid if they get into a tiff with Russia? And he said, well, it depends on the circumstance, but I'm a big supporter of NATO, He's not a big supporter of NATO. Putin pissed him off. Now, also very interesting, the Polish foreign minister, what's his face? Oh my God, I even met the guy. Raduski, what the hell's his name? I'm forgetting his name now. It's funny because his first name, I know the short version. Anyway, Polish foreign minister. I'm totally forgetting his name. But Sikorski, thank you. Radoslav, right? Radoslav. Sikorski. He then tweets in response to Trump's statement, Roger that. Trump just gave the Poles permission to shoot down Russian aircraft that enter their territory. That's very interesting. It's very interesting. Now, keep in mind, the one big experience we have recently with Russia invading airspace and getting their plane shot down is Turkey. About 10 years ago, some Russian aircraft, military aircraft, entered Turkish airspace. The Turks shot it down. They literally just were like, yeah, I don't think so. Shot the Russian plane down. The Russians were furious. But you know what the Russians did in response? Nothing. And you know what else the Russians did? For the last 10 years, the Russian military has never entered Turkish airspace again because the Turks shot the plane down. I mean, that's a pretty telling lesson there. The Poles are pissed, though. The Poles have been itching to do this. The fact that Trump said that is very interesting because it's also going to make... Now, Putin, if you're Putin, Trump waffles, but that was a green light for Poland and everybody else to shoot down Russian planes. And I think we're going to see an incident where that happens. Yeah, Julian, exactly. It was 2015, I think. Yeah. So very interesting on that note. On the Ukraine front, this was fascinating too. And I've got a lot of news. We're going to kind of jump around because there's a lot of news today, but I'm giving them in order of importance. On the Ukraine front, after meeting with Zelensky today, Trump put out like a 2-page screed on social media saying, supporting Ukraine, attacking Putin, attacking Russia, and saying he thinks Ukraine can get all of its land back and that NATO should just keep selling them weapons. Now, I'm going to read you what Trump wrote because I sort of read about half an hour ago. I decided to read it again. It's very interesting. It's very interesting. He's pissed at Putin today. Now, again, Trump flip-flops, which means he could, be pissed at Zelensky instead. But keep in mind that, remember, it was only a couple months ago, maybe February, whenever it was, when Zelensky met with J.D. Vance and Trump said, you don't hold any cards. You don't hold any cards. You're screwed. Now Trump is saying, I think you can get all your land back. Well, I'm going to read this to you. Trump says, I thought solving the war was going to be the easiest. Here, for this, we'll use our wig. For this, we'll use our Trump wig. Oops. There we go. That's pretty good. I thought solving the war was going to be the easiest one because of my relationship with Putin, Trump said today. Unfortunately, that relationship didn't mean anything. Now, that's very telling, okay? Unfortunately, that relationship didn't... I know it does look more Boris Johnson, doesn't it? Unfortunately, that relationship didn't mean anything. He's pissed at Putin. After getting to know and fully understand the Ukraine-Russia military and economic situation, and after seeing the economic trouble it is causing Russia, I think Ukraine, with the support of the European Union, is in a position to fight and win all of Ukraine back in its original form. With time, patience, and the financial support of Europe, and in particular NATO, listen to this, with time, patience, and the financial support of Europe, and in particular NATO, the original borders from where this started is very much an option. Why not? Okay. Russia has been fighting aimlessly for 3.5 years, a war that should have taken a real military power less than a week to win. He's dissing. Read it again. Russia has been fighting aimlessly for 3.5 years, a war that should have taken a real military power less than a week to win. So he's making fun of them, saying, you should have won this in a week. It took you 3 years. He is personally pissed at Putin. That's what's fascinating about this, because Trump is very transparent. This is not distinguishing Russia. In fact, it is very much making them look like a paper tiger. When the people living in Moscow and all of the great cities, towns, and districts all throughout Russia find out what is really going on with this war, the fact that it's almost impossible for them to get gasoline through the long lines that are being formed, and all of the other things that are taking place in their war economy, where most of their money is being spent on fighting Ukraine, which has great spirit and only getting better, listen to this, Ukraine would be able to take back their country in its original form and, who knows, maybe even go further than that, exclamation point. I want to read you that again. He's talking about how bad the Russian economy is. Ukraine would be able to take back their country in its original form and, who knows, maybe even go further than that, exclamation point. Trump just suggested that not only can Ukraine get its land back, maybe Ukraine can go get some of Russia's land too. And he cheered it and said, who knows, like kind of cute and coy with an exclamation point. That is very, again, he's going to change his mind. U.S. policy has never been for Ukraine to expand into Russia. That's never been U.S. policy. We've never urged the Ukrainians, hey, why don't you go invade Russia and take some of their land? That would be a good end to the war. Now, it's a great way to negotiate with Russia to get their land. But for Trump to openly call on that, right, to openly call on Ukraine to why don't you go in and take some of Russia's land too? Go invade Russia. He's pissed at Putin. Again, he's going to flip-flop on this. He will. That's what he does. Nothing, which is really dangerous too for international relations, because if you're Putin, you're looking now and going, so does Trump think or not think that European countries should blow up Russian aircraft that enter their airspace? We don't know, right? Thank you, Terry, for the caterpillar. Oh, that's cute. Thank you. Right? You don't know. Trump said today that he thinks Europe should blow up Russian airplanes that come into illegally, Russian military aircraft that come into European airspace. But does he really think that? Will he change his mind? Of course. Is he willing to go to war with Russia? Maybe, maybe not, right? And this thing now with Ukraine, is Russia really supporting Ukraine going into invading Russia now? Or will he flip-flop in 2 weeks? Again, the problem is, if you're Putin, you now have no idea what Trump believes, and so there's no predictability. I'm going to take this off because it's starting to itch. If there's no predictability, it often makes things more dangerous. Because in international affairs, if you can predict, for example, if Putin can predict what Trump is going to do, Putin can be careful, right? If Putin knows Trump will go to war or whatever, if he sends aircraft into Poland and the Poles shoot it down, then Putin won't do it. But if Putin thinks, well, maybe Trump won't, he's more willing to do it. It's just very dangerous to not know what the other guy's going to do. Because also, often what it means is if you don't know what the other guy's going to do in international relations, you often have to assume the worst. You have to say, well, if I don't know what Poland's going to do, I have to assume Poland's going to war. And if I don't know what Trump's going to do, I have to assume Trump's going to war. And all of a sudden, now Putin is in more of a war footing. It just gets more dangerous. Anyway, he went on and said, we will continue to supply weapons to NATO for NATO to do what they want with, meaning to give it to Europe, to give it to the Ukrainians. Thank you, Annie. I saw that. That was our goat. Which goat do we want today, Annie? Annie just bought a goat gift. Which goat are we doing? Which goat are we doing, Annie? We've got the TikTok get small. Okay, Annie, you like the small one. I remember this. Thank you all. Thank you, Annie. Very sweet of you. Tylenol and Trump's weird healthcare stuff. So Trump, last night when we were doing the show, Trump was having a press conference, so I didn't really get to talk about it much last night because it was like happening right when we were starting. Trump held a press event last night with Robert F. Kennedy Jr., his top health official, who's a conspiracy theorist, nut job, really, and Mehmet Oz, who isn't as bad, who's head of like Medicare and Medicaid, but Trump is pretty bad. Well, Trump last night suggested that pregnant women should not use Tylenol because it's not safe, total lie. Then suggested that he thinks, and the best part was, because Trump has learned, I think legally to protect himself when he defames people, he's learned to say, it's my opinion. It's just my opinion, right? Rather than, right? So he thinks he kind of gets away with it by saying that. Well, except he started doing it about medical advice for women and everybody else. So he kept saying, well, it's my opinion that women should not take Tylenol when they're pregnant. And you're like, nobody cares what your opinion is, right? They care what doctors think. That was the first interesting thing. Then he said it's his opinion that babies should not get the hepatitis B vaccine because he doesn't think, well, first of all, he goes, just my opinion. I think they should start getting it at age 12. And you're like, why should anybody care what you think about when a vaccine should start with a child, right? Now, a couple things here. One, Trump and Kennedy falsely claimed that there's a proven link between autism and Tylenol, paracetamol, right? Acetaminophen. There isn't. I'm gonna actually read you this. I'm gonna read you this. I'm trying to remember where this is from now. Shoot. Oh, this might be CNN. It might be the New York Times. Trump announced Monday the U.S. Food and Drug Administration will notify doctors that the use of Tylenol, the brand name for acetaminophen, known in most countries as paracetamol, during pregnancy can be associated with a very increased risk of autism. Despite decades of evidence that it is safe, Trump suggested that women limit Tylenol use during pregnancy if you can't tough it out. I watched the thing. He said, you could just tough it out. To women who are like either in pregnancy and sick or like going into labor and don't want to get all the shots and everything, the epidurals and all that stuff. He says you should just tough it out, ladies. Listen, and this blew my mind. Listen to this. So the medical regulatory agencies of the European Union and the UK quickly issued statements Tuesday confirming that taking paracetamol during pregnancy remains safe. Quote, this is from the UK Health Secretary. Listen to this. Quote, don't pay any attention whatsoever to what Donald Trump says about medicine. In fact, don't even take my word for it as a politician. Listen to British doctors, British scientists. UK Health Secretary Wes Streeting said, I trust doctors over President Trump, frankly, on this. I mean, he's not wrong, but I'm like seeing, I can always tell when my screen, there we go, screen's a little better. I hate when it does that halo thing. That's good enough. That's good enough. CNN notes that experts warn, and then Trump said, because Trump said it doesn't matter. He goes, wait, actually, I'm going to find, what was the exact quote? Wait, I'm going to get to the exact quotes below. Hang on. CNN went on to note that acetaminophen or paracetamol is considered the only safe over-the-counter option for pain or fever during pregnancy. Other common pain relief options like ibuprofen or regular dose aspirin can increase the risk of serious pregnancy complications. Trump also falsely claimed yesterday that vaccines are linked to autism, per the New York Times. Trump said that he and Robert F. Kennedy Jr. had long discussed the possibility that vaccines are linked to autism. Quote, they pump so much stuff into babies, it's a disgrace, Trump said. The New York Times says dozens of studies over the last 3 decades have failed to find any link between vaccines and autism. Scientists say the idea has been debunked. The New York Times then did a fact check of Donald Trump's comments. Vaccines. The president said that childhood immunization schedules loads up children with too many vaccines, as many as 80 different shots. The truth. Children generally receive roughly 30 vaccine doses before the age of 18, not 80. And there is no evidence for the idea that vaccines overwhelm their immune system or lead to conditions like autism. Hepatitis B. Trump said the disease was sexually transmitted and that children should not be vaccinated against it until they are 12. He and Robert F. Kennedy Jr. both said about hepatitis B, it's a sexually transmitted disease. Why would you give the shot to babies? That's crazy. Newborn babies, they're not having sex. Now, this is what's so, I mean, I actually hold people in the public accountable for this too. Do you think, do people really think that Donald Trump and Robert F. Kennedy Jr. are the first people to put together the fact that we're giving babies hepatitis vaccines and that nobody thought babies aren't having sex, right? That nobody thought about that until Robert F. Kennedy and Trump came along, so that from their perspective, obviously babies don't need the vaccine because they're not having, again, what bothers me here is sometimes you just have to sit back and say, common sense plays a role here. Obviously, there's a reason doctors recommend your baby gets the hepatitis B vaccine. The doctor does not think your baby's having sex. So what's the reason? There must be a reason. Trump is not intellectually curious. He's also not very smart, and therefore he doesn't think. Robert F. Kennedy Jr. is a conspiracy theorist, unfortunately. Listen to this. Hepatitis B. Trump said the disease was sexually transmitted and that children should not get the vaccine until they are 12. The truth, according to the New York Times, the virus is transmitted sexually, but it can also spread through drops of blood on surfaces or skin and is highly transmissible during pregnant delivery. So doctors recommend the vaccine at birth. If your mother has hepatitis, you run a really good chance of catching it during birth. That's why they recommend that babies get the vaccine. This is not rocket science. It's actually pretty offensive when you read this, right? Babies get the hepatitis B vaccine at birth because hepatitis is transmissible at birth from the mother to the baby. That's why they give the vaccine. Trump lied and claimed it was only a sexually transmitted disease. That's a lie. Claimed that you literally only get it from sex, so therefore babies cannot get it from their mothers. That's a lie. But he put the information out there, so the half of the country that believes him and worships him is going to now think, well, Trump said my baby doesn't need the vaccine. And let's face it, none of us want to give your babies vaccines they don't need, because there's always a chance of something, right? Every medical shot you get, they tell you about the warnings and stuff. but he's lying about it. And he lied about the Tylenol, which let me get to next. Tylenol, paracetamol, acetaminophen. Speaking about the risks for pregnant women, Trump said there's no downside to not taking it. He literally told women, don't take it. There's no downside. Okay. The truth from New York Times. Doctors already advise pregnant women to take Tylenol sparingly. Take a little, don't take a lot. But there are some important uses. A high fever, for example, can endanger both the mother and the baby. If you have a high fever, you don't really have a choice. Because if you take NSAIDs, NSAIDs, they're really dangerous. Ibuprofen, all the other stuff, very dangerous. Tylenol, much safer. And a fever, very dangerous for you and the baby. This is the New York Times citing medical experts. Trump literally said there is, quote, there is no downside to not taking Tylenol. He lied again, and he put out a lie that is risking the lives and livelihood and health of women and babies. I just, as we've learned in 2000, there is a medical scientific cost to this man. It's unbelievable. Final story I was going to tell you about, horrific story out of Massachusetts. Actually, I think I've got the video I can probably show you. I do have the video I can show you. One sec. From Telemundo Nueva Inglaterra. I think it must be Telemundo's New England branch, Northeast U.S. ICE agents, U.S. immigration agents, were trying to capture a man from Guatemala who's been here 25 years. I don't know if he's illegal or not, but he's been here 25 years. And they therefore grabbed his 5-year-old daughter outside the house and held her hostage with all of the agents surrounding her to try to get the dad to turn himself in. Thank God the mother recorded the entire thing. The girl is sitting there. She's 5 years old. Oh, and it gets better. The girl that they held hostage as a bargaining chip was not just a 5-year-old girl. She's autistic. So she also has some issues. But it doesn't really matter because she's 5 years old. And you've got strange men with guns holding you. Okay? And the mother is at the door going, let my daughter go. And the guy says, no. And he says, I want to see an ID to know you're really the mother. She goes, come to the door and I'll show you the ID through the door. And he goes, no, you come here. And she goes, my daughter is autistic. Please let her go. No, tell your husband to come out. And he actually said, tell your husband to come out. In other words, we are holding your daughter hostage as a bargaining chip, your 5-year-old daughter. ICE has now denied, the Trump people denied it today, except there's video. Let me pull this. I'm going to see if I've got it on the iPad, I'll show you. Otherwise, I will show you on my phone. Let me see. Actually, I've only got, I grabbed a short, actually, I intentionally grabbed a very short video because I didn't want to, like impinge or infringe at all on the TV station. It's literally 4 seconds. I just grabbed 4 seconds so that you could see it's downloading. It's literally just a 4-second thing, but I wanted you to be able to see the car, the little girl, and the police around her. Wait 1 second now and I'll show you. Like I said, it's only 4 seconds, but it's enough to obviously get a sense of what's going on. So, revert. Let me revert to the original. I think, I've got the original. I've got longer. Hold on here. Let me grab this now. Hang on. Oops. So this is Telemundo Nueva Inglaterra, which is Telemundo New England. A clip from them, and they did some amazing reporting on this. Oops. Hang on. One more thing. I forgot to, here we go. I want to just, there we go. I wanted to zoom in a little so you could see this. Oops. Hey. Oh, the sound isn't coming through. Oh, wait. Oh, no, I have to hit the sound. Sorry. I mean, it's in Spanish, but still. Hang on. Little girl. Agents. That's arresting the guy, I'm assuming, finally. Look at her. Look at her. Surrounded by the guys with the guns. And the mother says, don't. I had cut it off because I didn't want to grab too much of their video. The mother is saying, don't touch her, is what she was saying right there. She goes, don't touch her. She's my daughter. She is autistic. Do not do this to her. Yeah. 5-year-old girl. 5-year-old girl holding her hostage. I mean, it is horrifying. And again, I don't know what you do about it, right? They're doing this. They're lying. I mean, and how do you, it's the entire, and then they lie about it and say, oh no, we didn't do it. We didn't. First of all, it's not true. What's not true? There's a 5-year-old girl sitting there surrounded by officers with guns. The mother says, that is my daughter. Let her go. She is autistic. So you know exactly what's going on, right? And the cop says, let me see an ID. Well, that's a valid thing to ask, right? Let me see an ID, right? Of course, by the way, there's one option. You ask the girl, is that your mom? And she goes, yes, there's that. But you could say an ID. She says, fine, come to the house and I will show you my ID through the door. And he goes, no, you come out here. Literally, the guy goes, no, you come over here, right here. Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely despicable. Absolutely despicable. I mean, Callum told me about it and I was like, get out of here. He's like, no, they literally just grabbed a 5-year-old girl as a hostage. I said, get out of here. No, this stuff is just unbelievable what these guys do. Absolutely unbelievable. Very scary stuff. Man. Anyway, so that's the news today. Crazy news. I mean, it's been just a crazy news day. Absolutely crazy news day. So what else, guys? What else is going on? I know, crazy story to sort of end things on. Nasty, nasty, nasty. The outcome, I believe there was that video at the beginning. They got the father. Oh, the girl. I mean, let's face it. Somebody said it could be something. The girl, kind-hearted. She's a 5-year-old girl. I mean, think about this. I remember being 5 years old, and like at once, like my mom had one of the neighbors take care of us. Oh my God, I still remember being traumatized that my mother was driving away. I mean, I remember that feeling because I just thought, oh my God, she's leaving me at this person's house. And it was like a neighbor who lived 3 blocks away, freaked me out. I even remember where she lived, like around the corner in a little cul-de-sac. Your daughter is taken by like 5 or 10 men who have guns, white men. You're Latino, so they look different from you too. They don't look like your neighbors. They don't look like your family, right? And some of them probably had their faces covered, right? And they had guns, and she probably knows what a gun is at that age. And they're making her sit there, and they're not letting her go. And she's outside her house, and she sees her mother and hears her mother. I mean, also, by the way, she's 5 years old. Why is she sitting there? She's sitting there because they told her to wait, right? Right? Why would they do it? Right? I mean, very crazy stuff. Anyway. Oh, I see. Yeah, Amanda, good catch there, Amanda. I missed that one. Anyway, they had to stop her from going to the mom. They had to. A little kid would have gone to mom and dad. The little kid's not going to sit on the car, whatever, of a pickup truck of some strange man. Not to mention, too, great lesson for this kid to learn that she should hang out with strange men who tell her things to not go to her mother and stuff, right? I mean, horrific what they did. Absolutely horrific. Just really, yeah. Anyway. Oh, man. Arctic, I don't know what we're doing. Now, are Americans ready to fight this? This is the classic problem with fascism, is people not only does it, come in on cat feet, I don't want to ruin Carl Sandburg's poem, it comes in slowly, although in this case, it's not slowly at all, it's rampaging. People have no idea what to do. And I'm kind of confused, frankly. You don't know what to do, right? How do you fight it? How do you fight the government? How do you fight the military? How do you fight men with guns? I mean, it is incredibly terrifying, and incredibly frustrating. And the one thing I actually need to read up much more. Actually, I need to get some fascism experts to come on the show too. We've had, what's her name? Who's the big fascism expert who we had on my podcast several years ago? Woman, Ruth. She's got like 3 names. Ruth Ben blah blah. Anybody know who I'm talking about? I think it's Ruth something Ben blah blah. She's something Iat. It's not Ben Giat. It might be Ben Giat or something like that. But she's a big fascism expert. I should probably get Ruth Ben Giat. I think that's it, Rock. Am I correct though that she's a? No, yeah, Ruth Ginsburg. No, but am I correct that she's a fascism expert? I think so, right? I'm pretty sure that's why I'm thinking of the right person, right? I think so. Yeah, because this is sort of what we need. We need to know, what do you do? What do you do? Yeah, Amanda says, Ruth Ben-Ghiat is a historian and professor at New York University who specializes in the study of fascism and authoritarianism. Yeah, because what do you do? It is, and this, by the way, is what they want you to do. Hold on. You know who else I need to get is the Yale guy who went to Canada. Timothy, starts with an S. Is it Timothy with an S? What's his last name? He did the series on Ukraine where he taped the lectures in his class. And he's also another expert. Snyder, thank you. I should try to get him too. Because it's one of the things fascist governments do is they try to make you feel helpless and impotent so that you just give in because you don't know what else you can do. You just don't know what else you can do. So that's, and I will say it's very difficult because, and frankly, it's a little scary because you worry too. I mean, God knows I've thought about it, right? Like I'm sure someday they'll send the Secret Service to talk to me because they'll say, I mean, look what they did to Governor Newsom. He wrote, what's her face? Kristi Noem, the Homeland Security Secretary, is going to have a bad day, meaning Newsom did some policy change that's going to piss her off. And, they sent the Secret Service. She was on Fox News. Oh my God. She was on Fox News yesterday too. It was a threat against me and my family. I'm looking at this video going, oh, please. It was a threat against me and my family. Yeah, it really wasn't. You're a snowflake and a liar. I mean, that's what it was. But that's what these guys do. And that's the whole point. The point is to scare you. The point is to scare you that if you and I even speak out totally legally and criticize them, that they'll send the government to try to scare us and strong arm us. Very scary stuff. Very scary stuff. Yeah, but yes, Arctic, I knew there were 3 people that left Yale that the Canadians grabbed, which glad you got them, to be honest. Anyway, very scary. So yeah, now I will say Snyder talks about certain things about what to do in response. He, for example, you don't, I don't know, ChatGPT, by the way, my ChatGPT has been having errors lately. I've been having it help me with recipes and it's just doing like simple math errors and stuff, which was kind of weird. Like I said, you got to be careful with it. Here. Hold on. Let me just ask it. I'm going to give it a more complicated question. I'm going to have make it think on this. People are wondering how to fight back against Donald Trump. They worry that Trump is instituting a creeping fascism and authoritarianism in American government, period. But Americans don't have experience fighting those kind of governments at home, and they're not sure what to do. I want you to put the cap on of a leading fascism expert, somebody like Ruth Ben-Ghiat. Hold on. Or Timothy Snyder. And look at what they've written, what they've said in interviews about this. What are the lessons they provide as to how people should fight back against this kind of a creeping fascism. What can regular people do? What should they do? See, that you get better answers when you do that kind of stuff with ChatGPT. When you people have told me this before, you have to kind of give it a role and say, okay, put on this hat. You are a tax lawyer or this guy. It's crazy, but it makes a difference. So that's why I said, you're an expert on fascism like this woman or this man. So let's see what it says out of curiosity. But Snyder literally has like a checklist of things you're supposed to do. Maria Reese. All right, I'll put it down. Oh, Marita Ressa, sorry. Was she one of the, waiting for ChatGPT, was she one of the experts that was pilfered by the Canadians? Or is she a totally other person? All right, still waiting for ChatGPT to give me the answer. I put it on deep think mode where it takes longer, but it's good. Because that way Alexa, lower the temperature 1 degree. My temperature is being like hit or miss here today. Actually, I can also put on the fan. Because my temperature keeps going like up and down in the apartment today. One moment here. Fan. Now that I have access to my phone again, because I can use the computer, which is very nice. Oops. It's still thinking. Wow, it's going through this. Oh, here we go. Oh, no, it's still searching. All right. Searching for Ruth Ben-Ghiat's resistance advice. See, it's interesting because I gave it a much deeper setup and told it to use its deep thinking mode. It's taking a long time, but that's good. And it's telling me the kind of things it's looking for. Like it said, Maria's from the Philippines. But, well, I'm joking about the Canadians pilfering the people. It was brilliant what you did, and I'm glad you did it, frankly. She's a Nobel Peace Prize holder for being a jailed, investigative journalist on the Cambridge Analytica scandal. Oh, she exposed the same playbook, but in the Philippines. The Philippines was a testing ground for Trump's people. Oh, that's interesting. Oh, here we go. All right. You're right to frame this as creeping authoritarianism. People who study fascism and democratic backsliding keep saying the same thing. It's beaten by thousands of small coordinated acts done early, locally, and repeatedly, not by one dramatic gesture at the end. What the top experts actually advise, Timothy Snyder on tyranny, daily, blah, blah, blah. His 20 lessons are a checklist for citizens in a backsliding democracy. Don't obey in advance. Defend institutions. Believe in truth and pay for independent media. Keep your professional ethics. Be wary of paramilitaries, meaning like quasi-military things that are out there that they're using. Stand out. Practice in-person politics, not just online. We'll have to go look. Ruth Ben-Ghiat. Recognize the playbook and build broad pro-democracy coalitions. She documents how strongmen hollow out democracies through propaganda, corruption, and selective violence, often without abolishing elections. Her advice, stop normalizing. Take stated intentions literally. In other words, believe him when he says he's going to do this stuff. Impose consequences for lawlessness and organize resilient cross-partisan coalitions. Okay, that's a little hard. Masha Geshin. Masha's very good. She's friends of mine in New York, former Russian, but lives in the U.S. now. Wrote some very good books about Putin. He doesn't like her. Believe the autocrat. Don't be soothed by small signs of normality. Institutions won't save you unless people inside them defend them. Be outraged and don't make yourself complicit through little compromises. Jason Stanley, expect a politics of us versus them. Mythic past, like looking at how great the past was. Relentless disinformation. The antidotes: defend truth and expertise, support independent journalism and education, build multiracial solidarity. I'm not sure what that means. So what should regular people actually do? Protect the vote and the counters. Serve as a poll. This is good. Serve as a poll worker, election observer, or ballot curer, or recruit friends. Support nonpartisan local election offices. They're being targeted. Join rapid response networks that provide legal observers when intimidation appears. Defend institutions from the inside. If you're in the law, medicine, media, civil service, military, or technology, recommit to your professional ethics and whistleblower channels. Refuse unlawful orders. Document everything. Coordinate with reputable watchdogs. Starve the propaganda, fund the truth. Subscribe to at least one local newsroom and one investigative outlet. In other words, you may even want to find people locally, like in your state, that watch what's going on as well. Don't quote tweet disinformation, screenshot and debunk with, oh, that's a great point. That's a great point. When the bad guys are lying, when they're saying horrific lies, right? People retweet the lie and they put a comment on top, because you can, it's a Twitter thing. Everybody who doesn't use Twitter, but other social media has this too, where you share it with your comment. Well, when you share it with your comment, you just shared it. You've told the algorithm, you've told the computer in the sky, oh my God, people love this post. You need to give it to even more people. It's controversial. Everyone's sharing it. So then it goes on the front page. What you need to do is take a picture of it and share the picture of the comment and then criticize it, because then Twitter or whatever social media service simply thinks you shared a photo. They don't know, oh no, you shared this guy's post. That post really gets people going. You should share it even more. You're literally promoting the disinformation by sharing the post, because the other problem is then it means the post is out there and they don't always see your comment. The other thing, I will note one other point too. A lot of experts out there, but I'd put all of you in the same boat. They share stuff and say, this is bullshit. This isn't true. Or I can't believe he'd say that. Everybody knows that's not true. And they don't explain why. And I'm always like, why? Like on vaccines or hepatitis or whatever it is, Ukraine, whatever the story is, right? What's the real? I'd always say, you just shared his tweet to more people and you didn't explain why it's not true. I said, I know you know this, but I don't, for example. I don't know why that's not true. And a lot of other people don't either. Always, if you are going to share some of that stuff, don't just say it's not true because you're sharing the lie. You've got to say, oh no, that's not true because medical experts have long concluded that blah, 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 blah. And then the person learns something, goes, oh, that's interesting, right? Build broad, durable coalitions before the emergency, link arms across ideology around specific democratic norms, fair elections, nonviolence, rule of law, map your town's institutions, whatever that means, make politics physical again, show up at courts, school board meetings, peaceful counter rallies. Thank you for the caterpillar, Eslin. Constituent visits. In other words, when your members of Congress are in town, go to their meetings, their public meetings. School board meetings, go, because the crazies are going to go. You need to be there as an offset. Online outrage doesn't change votes. Bodies do. Impose consequences for lawlessness. Support district attorney, attorney general efforts that prosecute political violence and corruption. I don't know how you get that, though. Pressure donors, universities, platforms, and advertisers to enforce their own rules against incitement and disinformation. Cancel ad buys and sponsorships that underwrite anti-democratic propaganda. Move your business elsewhere. Consider running for office. Anyway, there you go. I'm gonna see what the Timothy Snyder stuff is. Hold on. Give me the list of Timothy Snyder's top, was it 20 suggestions or whatever? Including, hold on. Anyway, you get the idea. Alexa, raise the temperature 1 degree. It's getting cold again. It always goes back. It drives me crazy. It's either cold or hot, cold or hot. I am lighting. Yeah, the TV camera, the computer camera is nice. It's giving the nice lights behind me, which I'm glad, since I'm using a computer now for my show on TikTok and YouTube. So, waiting for the thank you, Addie. My computer, I've always had MacBooks. It's not the new. It's a MacBook Pro from last year. I got a decently fast model, but not the fastest, because that would have been $1,000 more, and I wasn't going there. So it's a good. People looked into it for me and said this should be a good model. One, refuse anticipatory obedience, meaning don't obey in advance. I have to. Hold on, I'm going to have to explain this. Okay, hold on. Give me that list again, and then give me a sentence or two that explains what each thing means. Hold on. Because, for example, that don't obey in advance thing, I've always been curious about. I've never understood what that means, really. Sounds good. Kind of sounds good, but I was like, what does don't obey in advance mean? It's going to take them a second, like I said. What's funny is the picture is like sharp with this. What I've noticed, though, is on YouTube, the picture is still kind of not very sharp, which I was kind of annoyed. What do you do? But like last night's show, I think, let me go look again. Oh, hold on. Don't do that. Hang on. I think unless last night's show got better. Yeah, it's okay. I mean, last night's show to me still it's okay. It's still a little blurry, which I'm not happy about. It's not bad. It's not bad. I think you just can't get like a super quality on YouTube. What do you do? Oh, it's still trying to come up with the answer. Oh, here we go. 20 lessons. Do not obey in advance. Authoritarians rely on people pre-complying with what they think power wants. Don't self-censor or get ahead of orders. Refuse anticipatory. Okay, so like don't censor yourself. Don't. Yeah. I don't, but I can and probably should. An objection. Defend institutions. Pick a court, newsroom, library, board, or agency, then volunteer, donate, and speak up for it. Beware the one-party state. Democracies erode when one party rigs the playing field locally and statewide. Vote in every election and resist rules that lock in one-party control. Take responsibility for the face of the world. Don't normalize hate. Remove or report symbols you see, like the scary German symbol from World War II. You know what I mean? If you see things like that, report it. Counter it with visible pro-democracy messages. Remember professional ethics. If you're a lawyer, judge, civil servant, journalist, teacher, doctor, your code is a bulwark. Refuse to bend rules to serve a leader rather than the law or the truth. In other words, right, people like Trump or even the governors asking you to violate rules, don't do it. If you're National Guard, don't break the rules. For example, you were ordered to grab a 5-year-old girl. One of those men should have stood up to the other men and gone, guys, what the hell are you doing? We're gonna kidnap, arrest a 5-year-old girl with autism? Seriously? And no one stood up and said anything. Be wary of paramilitaries. Private militias and patriot groups are a red flag. Demand consistent enforcement of laws. Let me see. Anyway, you get it. It's hard though, because even that, I feel like, okay, but that's hard. I think that's very hard. I do think they're right about you should be supporting alternative media. Any kind of, not even just alternative, any kind of media that's out there. Maybe it's time to make sure you do subscribe to a few newspapers and stuff. It's probably not a bad, if you don't, it's maybe not a bad idea. Thank you. Well, me too. I wasn't. You're funny, Bowie. This is why I'm really bad at this. I wasn't even thinking, oh yeah, you could subscribe to my show. I literally didn't even think of that. Bowie wrote it down. You too. I said, oh, that's right. But it is true. Like, I think if you like me, if you like Dean and what's his face, Parker, if you like David Pakman, whoever, support them, right? If you've got local newspapers in your area, for example, because your local newspaper matters a lot too, right? Because they don't have support because they're the only people keeping your state. Florida, if there's any independent media in Florida, consider subscribing, right? It's the only people holding that guy responsible, But I think that's very true. Actually, I would say that. Please do consider subscribing on TikTok and YouTube. Fair point. Dog wants more water. All right, 1 minute. Dog gets more water. All right, you. Here you go. All right. All right. All right. Oh, man. Very scary stuff, though. Very scary stuff. Dean and Parker, they seem great. No, I like them. Every time I've watched them, they seem great. Very impressive, especially for their age, which just scares me. They're like, what are they, 22 or something crazy? Or 20 and 22, whatever. Ridiculously smart. I have a Substack. I don't use it too much, but I do. My main stuff is here in YouTube. Discord too. Bryce, yeah, you can Google him, Timothy Snyder. He kind of has like 20 rules for fighting back against authoritarianism. Yep. Yeah, Aaron Parnas is great. Midas Touch is great. I might suggest too. Well, it depends though. I think big people, look, often I feel like smaller people can get a better bang for the buck, but bigger people have more influence. So it's kind of a tough call as to who to support. You know what I mean? I don't want to say don't support the big guys, but like I could use the support. Whereas somebody who's huge, well, it's like even for a newspaper, the New York Times, if you buy a subscription, a $4 a month subscription, is your subscription making that big of a difference? Even 100 of you, If 100 of you subscribe to my podcast, to my show, it's huge. So like, you will make a bigger, but having said that, the New York Times has much more influence in the world than I have. So it's kind of a tough call. I love Don Lemon. Don Lemon's been really good in the last couple of days too, on all this Trump stuff with the authoritarian stuff. But anyway, whatever. I think pick whoever your favorites are and consider subscribing. It's not a bad idea, it's not a bad idea. I'm not sure what you're referring to, kind-hearted. But Don Lemon's really, always loved Don Lemon. He's very good. Also, he was another one that was railroaded. I mean, I'm guessing, I thought he was kind of railroaded, I'm not going to get into it here, but, the SNN is gray. That's interesting.